Hello everyone, this is Advocate Mule Sid, and today I'll be teaching you legal aptitude and logical reasoning. We're going to start with the Indian Constitution. And as most of you might know that when we talk about Indian Constitution, we need to talk about preamble first, right? Now, what do you mean by a preamble? It introduces the Constitution to us, but there are many visionaries who have explained as to what preamble is to the Constitution, right? So as for the exam point of view and for MCQs, this is something that's very important to know. It is called as the yes, it is called the horoscope. Horoscope of Constitution by Shri K. M. Munshi. It is called as the soul of the Constitution by Thakur Bhargavji. And it is called as the ID card by Sir N.A. Palkiwala. So what is preamble? Now, for example, let's take right to life. Right to life will include right to food, right to employment, right to opportunities, right to education. Now, it goes on, right? It's a very huge definition, and it's a very huge article. Now, how do you understand what the framers meant and what are the limitations and what is the scope of this constitution? So when you talk about these things, it is then this preamble is taken into consideration, and it is then you need this preamble to understand as to what was meant by the framers. Now India, as you know, has taken its preamble, this, you see this line, we the people of India. So this has been inspired from USA. India's constitution is the lengthiest written constitution in the world. Now we have taken all the good portions and all the, the, how do we say, you have the constitution that we have is inspired from different countries. We have UK, we have USA, we have France, we have Russia, we have so much diversity that is incorporated in this constitution that it makes it unique and a very very big and encompassing document. Right. Now when we talk about constitution, it is given to us in the objective resolution. So when you talk about key how we got it, objective resolution, it was given in the objective resolution by Jawaharlalji Nehru. Right. Okay. So let's get to it, guys. We'll break down this for you now. So first is, if you see this here, okay, preamble starts with we the people having solemnly. So guys, it would be good if you could memorize it. It is very easy to understand. So the first point we see here is we the people of India having solemnly resolved to constitute India. So what is the source? The source is people. This is your first MCQ. You may you may be asked that what is the source of our constitution? The people of this country are the source of our constitution. Right. Now, first we tell what India is. What India is. India is a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. Now, sir, what do you mean by sovereign? There are two kinds of sovereignty. One is internal and one is external. So, internal sovereignty means that India is free from internal disruption, meaning that if a policy is passed, it won't be opposed by force that is internal to the state. That is, you cannot challenge a established law, right? If a law is made, it will be adhered to, and there won't be any internal disruptions challenging the authority of that law. When I say external sovereignty, it means that India is independent and is recognized as independent state which has its own powers over its own citizens. So India has the power to govern its own citizens. So this means that India has both internal and external sovereignty. Second is socialist. Now by socialist we do not mean that everything is owned by the public like in Russia. India also recognizes private rights, meaning that yes, India can acquire any property or asset for public welfare or benefit, but then reasonable compensation shall be given. You cannot go ahead and outrightly reject rights of private individuals. Such is the nature of our constitution. Such is the word secular, socialist in it, and it's how it is supposed to be interpreted. Secular, as you all know, we do not have a state religion. Everyone is free to practice and propagate their own religion. Everyone is free to profess their own religion as long as it does not harm the public. Right? So this is what we mean by secular. Democratic republic, meaning that in India we are free to elect our own representatives at all the levels, that is local, state and the union or the center. We elect our representatives to be governed by them, right? Now, simply stated, we get the right to vote. Yes, it is based on universal adult franchise. Now what do you mean by that? Universal adult franchise simply means one person, one. On attaining majority, you have the right to vote, and by the concept of universal adult franchise, you will be able to elect your own government who will represent you in matters that concern to the public. Okay. Now this was the second part as to what India is. Now we come as to what we want, the ideals we want. Third part is ideals we want. What do you want? Sir, we want justice. What kind of justice? Sir, social justice. In a society, there should be justice There should be equal pay for equal work. There should be no discrimination. Untouchability should be abolished. Okay. There should be economic justice. Everyone should have the right to practice their profession, right to practice their business. Okay. Political. People should be free to form their own political parties, should be free to elect their own political parties, should have a say in the matters of the state. Okay. We This is the ideal we incorporated. We have justice, freedom or liberty. So we have the liberty to think, to express, to have belief or worship of faith. We are free to do that, right? If you go to Saudi, you cannot worship idols. The country does not allow it. If you go to North Korea, if you click a picture of their supreme leader and you say, oh, let's crop it, like you can just see the torso and the face, and you crop the legs, you are punished for that, and the punishments are quite severe. So these things might sound absurd to you because that much of liberty you have been given. Next ideal is equality of status and opportunity. So this is basically abolition of titles. Titles like Maharaj or Sire. These titles that are not academic or any kind of a military achievement, all these titles are abolished to maintain a status quo. When I say status quo, I mean we maintain equal status for everyone and equal opportunities. Now, sir, sometimes so many of you might go to seek jobs in near future, right? And you will say, sir, where is the equal opportunity here? So when we talk about opportunities or all these ideals, it is what is provided by the states. So when we talk about public service commissions, you get a fair chance. There is a Union Public Service Commissions exam. Okay, there are public service commission exam for states. There is SSC and so many exams that are conducted by the state on equal footing. So yes, we have equality. And then we talk about fraternity. By fraternity we assure the dignity of the individual. You are free to live in a dignified manner. We ensure there is unity, and we ensure there is integrity in the nation. So what do you mean by unity integrity? It will be better discussed in Ray Berobari case. So imagine this is a country, not a country, this is India. India is not circular, but then assume it is. So you can make as many states you want in whatever format you want. ठीक है, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana. Okay, there are many examples, but you cannot see the territory. You cannot take out an entire territory and say ki, okay, fine, now this is not a part of our country. This cannot happen because we need to maintain the unity and integrity of this nation. In this Constituent Assembly, we, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this constitution. So we have given this constitution to ourselves. So I basically dissected the preamble for you. Moving ahead, I want to ask you a question. with regards to sovereignty. Sir, please tell me, India got independence in 15 August 1947. India achieved sovereignty on so what about this period? Was India not sovereign during this period? During this period, India is what it was a dominion, meaning yes, India was an independent state, but then there was some external influence on India. And after 26 January 1950, India achieved true sovereignty, both internal as well as external. All right. Okay, there are few. See, Indian Constitution has been amended many times, and of course, preamble was also amended. So I'll show you some parts that were added. So as we go through, I'll tell you the word socialist was added in the word socialist was added in the 42nd Amendment. The word integrity was added in the 42nd Amendment. Remember these two constitution guys, these two amendment guys, 42nd and 44th. This is known as mini constitution. You will find a lot of MCQs here. 44th Amendment basically came to rectify damages done by 42nd Amendment. Pardon my handwriting, I know it's bad. Okay guys. Now if you go through the introduction, you'll see I basically covered all of it, right? So now we'll move ahead. We complete the broad framework. Now we'll move ahead with federal or unitary structure, right? Even the word secular was added in the 42nd Amendment. I forgot. I might have forgotten. Simply write it. And the word secular was added in the 42nd Amendment, guys. So in the preamble itself, there were 3 changes by 42nd Amendment. Now talking about federal and unitary structure. Okay. Before that, let me tell you a few cases, guys. We'll write our cases here. Okay. There is a simple question, guys. Is preamble a part of our constitution or not? When I talk about part of our constitution, since it introduces the constitution and is more of a introductory portion, can we consider it a part of a constitution? This was a major question held in re Berubari. Berubari is a place near West Bengal. In re means presidential reference. It is not reference, it is presidential reference. It is when a president refers a case for opinion to the Supreme Court. Okay. So in re means presidential reference, wherein a land was being ceded to West Bengal in return of a land. So what happened was a portion of land that was in India had a majority population of Bangladeshis, and a portion of land in Bangladesh had majority population of Hindus. So it was simply said that let's trade. You take this property, give us that property. Now, if constitution is a part of, if preamble is a part of our constitution, I told you that we cannot do away with the unity and integrity of the nation. So in Berubari it was held that yes, preamble is the key to open the mind of the framers, but it also held that preamble is not the part of our constitution. It faced major criticism, and then came a landmark judgment, then came a landmark judgment. It was a 13 judge bench. uh, Most of you might have heard about this. Kesava Nanda Bharti. I'll cover this case in detail when I teach you basic structure doctrine versus state of Kerala. In this case, it was held that preamble is a part of basic structure. They laid a basic structure doctrine, and they said that preamble is a part of our constitution and can be amended by the power given under article. This is the amending power of our constitution, right? Article 3:6. It is through this case that preamble got recognition as a part of our constitution. Now, if you had some common sense, I already told you that there is 42nd amendment, there is 44th amendment, and 42nd amendment we added 3 words. So guys, in MCQ exams, it is not necessary that you would always know the answer. Even if you know what is not the answer, by following a negative approach, you can gauge what an answer would be to a particular question, right? That being said, let's move forward. Let me check one thing. Okay. Now that we are past it, let's talk about federal or unitary structure. What do you mean by that? So guys, all this theory that we saw, it's basically what I taught you right now. Don't worry, nothing has been skipped. Had this been a theoretical paper, it was we could have gone through it in its entirety. But then, since it's an MCQ based paper, all you need to focus on understanding the concept and knowing the keywords, because you should know on what basis questions will be asked. If you go ahead with reading through the entire portion, you will eventually find yourself in a sticky spot, and it won't be very good for the exams, because it's a golden opportunity. It's MCQs, it's from home, and I think you should adopt a smart approach towards these kinds of exams, and you will get plenty of opportunity to read the entire theory when you pass your CSEET and move it with the executive and professional levels, right? Now let's talk about federal or unitary structures. What do you mean by unitary structure? So unitary and unitary. Okay. Anyway, it means that the power is with a single authority. Who would be the single authority? The center. Okay. And what do you mean by federal? Federal means the power. This is the power. It is divided between center and state. Yes. Okay. Now, India has a federal structure with some unitary aspects. So, India is basically mixed or quasi. Quasi means something that is not complete. An incomplete product or theory is denoted by quasi. Quasi federal. India is quasi federal. Now, the constitution is basically federal but with certain unitary features. Okay, fine. So, how do we understand this? What are the features of our constitution? We have dual government. Yes, federal feature. The powers are distributed. The constitution is supreme. Agreed. We have independent judiciary. Yes, there are three major powers in our country: executive, legislature and judiciary. All, it's not a watertight compartment, but then judiciary is considered as independent. Okay, we have a written constitution. Yes, and a lengthiest one at that. We have the lengthiest written constitution. We have a rigid procedure. Here India slightly deviates. The procedure is not entirely rigid. It is rigid and flexible. Okay, now we know India has all the federal features, right? Now, why India is called quasi-federal is because India has certain unitary features. Now, what unitary features does India have? Sorry, I'm playing with colors. It's for your better understanding. Also, I love a colorful book. Okay. So, India has a strong center. The central government is strong, right? So, as you all know, we have three lists: list of powers, the union list, the state list, the concurrent list. List 1 contains everything that only the state has power to make laws upon. List 2 contains such matters such as police, roads, that only the state government has powers to make laws upon. List 3 contains concurrent list, wherein both the organs, the center and the state, has power to make laws upon, but in case of conflict, the center shall prevail. Now, this is one example just to show you that India has a strong center. Second is, states are not indestructible, meaning you can alter states. Of course, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, we can alter states. This is a unitary feature because only center is all powerful, and we have a single constitution, one constitution that governs the entire country, one written constitution. Now, since we have single constitution, we also have single citizenship. Guys, if you know that USA has separate citizenships for each state, so if you live in, say, Texas, you will have to get the citizenship of Texas. This kind of citizenship is called dual citizenship, where you get the citizenship of your state and as well as the country. So in India, we have one single citizenship, and we have the right to freely move through different states. All right, fine. Okay, sir, we covered strong center. We can alter state boundaries. We have one constitution and we have a single citizenship. What else? Sir, constitution can be amended. When I said flexible, this is what I was talking about. In a federal government, the constitution is supposed to be rigid. But when we talk about our constitution, it can be amended. Article 368. We cannot just amend, we have amended it already so many times. It has been amended over 100 times now, guys. So the constitution is not entirely rigid, it is flexible because we can amend it. Alright. Then we have our emergency provisions. Whenever the president feels that there is social unrest or there is a threat to the country, he can proclaim emergency. And when emergency is proclaimed, the center obtains all the powers to control all the governments. The entire country shall go under the control of the center, meaning that just by one declaration, the federal structure of our constitution can turn to unitary. Okay, so this is the basic difference between federal and unitary. I told you what are the features that India has that makes it, these are the unitary features that makes it quasi-federal. Alright, now guys, I'll simply tell you now we are moving ahead for the crucial portion, that is fundamental rights. Guys, the constitution is divided into 25 parts and it has 12 schedules. Part 1 talks about union and its territories. Okay, part 1 talks about union and territory. Part 2 talks about your citizenship. Now for citizenship, you need to read it with Citizenship Act. Part 3 covers fundamental rights. These are the rights that are guaranteed by the constitution to us. These are the rights that cannot be infringed upon. These are the rights that nobody can take away from you under no circumstances except when emergency is proclaimed. Even when emergency is proclaimed, only when there is a national emergency due to an external threat, only in that cases fundamental rights are infringed, and I'm sorry for using the wrong words, they are frozen, not infringed. And even in that case, Article 20 and 21, mind you, this can be an MCQ in your exam. Article 20 and 21 cannot be frozen even during the proclamation of emergency, and there is a huge story behind it which we will cover later on when we deal with these articles. So part 3 deals with fundamental rights. Now comes part 4, that you know as DPSP. Guys, these are directive, principles and state policies. These are merely directions, directives or guidances. Means state strives to achieve the policies and the principles that are imbibed in a constitution, but these are not enforceable per se in the court of law. For example, equal pay for equal work is the directive principle. It is a part of DPSP and part 4 of our constitution. But if there is differential payment, if there is no equal pay for equal work at your premises, at your office, or wherever you work, it is not a contravention of your fundamental right. Certainly, legal rights can be enforced in the court of law, but you cannot use the power of writs. What are writs? Writs are constitutional remedies. Wherever there is a right involved, there will always be a remedy involved. So, what happens if you go out and someone hits you, or someone causes hurt to you, or someone goes and kills someone, right? There you have IPC, there you have CRPC, wherein you can enforce the law in your favor, where you can obtain the remedy from laws, right? This is what a remedy is. Wherever there is an infringement of a right guaranteed by the law to you, and you take action against that infringement and obtain compensation or benefit or justice against it, that is the remedy provided by the law to you, right? Here, when I talk about writs, writs are constitutional remedies. We'll deal with it later in detail. I just gave you a brief idea about it. Part 5 is just a single section, and we have a great trick to memorize it. You will remember all the duties by memorizing 2 sentences. These are fundamental duties covered in Article 51A. Okay. Now, we shall deal with fundamental rights in the next class. As of now, I gave you a brief overview about it. We dealt with what was the preamble. What do you mean by the preamble? We basically dissected the entire preamble for you guys, right? I'm just going through a quick recap. So, a lot of MCQs will come from this small paragraph. I hope you will memorize the preamble. Every citizen should know this by heart anyway. But then this is a preamble. I talked about objective resolution by Jawaharlal Nehru. We talked what K. Munshi sir said as the horoscope of constitution. Thakur Bhargav sir said soul of constitution, and N.A. Palkiwala said the ID card of constitution. They said these things about the preamble. We talked about one, that is the source of the constitution. We the people, me and you are the source of constitution. We give it power. Then we talk about what India is. Okay, then we talk about what ideals we want, and this is the enacting clause. We cannot just wish for something and expect it to happen, right? So this is the enacting clause. You cannot wish to become a CS, or you cannot wish to clear CSEET and just by wishing it would happen. You need to enact it. You need to take action. This is the enacting clause. In our Constituent Assembly, 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this constitution, right? Then I told you what a dominion is. I told you what universal adult franchise is. We went through the introductory portions as well. We talked about 2 cases, in Ray Berubari case and Keshav Nanda Bharti case, right? This is the most important judgment. We will cover it in basic structure doctrine. It is very important. Do not forget this case. You may be asked a lot of MCQs just from this case. Talked about Article 368, Then we discussed about federal and unitary structure, what differences they have amongst themselves, and what unitary features does India have, and what features it has incorporated it in its constitution, making it a quasi-federal constitution. We read about these things. Then we gave a brief overview about the fundamental rights, the part, the division of our constitution, and what are the parts. There are 5 parts in the constitution. Sorry, there are 25 parts in the constitution, and we just talked about the first 5 parts. And later tomorrow, we will start with our fundamental rights, guys. I hope you enjoyed this lecture, and I hope we'll meet tomorrow and we'll complete our curriculum as soon as possible. Thank you so much.